What's going on, guys? Matt at Middleton Motorsports here, and you can see behind me 2018 Mustang GT I have up on the dyno. Doing a little late night tuning session on this thing, trying to get it some work done here at the shop. We're slam jammed with work and working a little late trying to catch up. So we'll go back, we'll check this thing out. We bolted a couple parts on this thing the last couple days, and really nice looking car. And we did a couple bolt-ons on a couple go fast bits. So JLT cold air. This is a pretty cool model they got with the clear top. So it's a sealed box, and but you can still see the filter through the plexiglass there. And what you can't really see is underneath we put a pair of American Racing. I'll go back. American Racing 1 7/8" long tube headers with high flow catalytic converters and a Borla rear section. So pretty much a full exhaust system. Borla S-Type sounds really nice. And I'm just, like I said before, I'm just wrapping up a tuning session on this thing. And this is a 10-speed car, automatic. And I did some tuning on the ECU, obviously, for the long tubes and the cold air. So this is a tune only cold air. So this cold air is a bigger diameter tube, and you have to adjust the mass airflow transfer function for that. But you end up making a little bit more power, you get a little more airflow with the larger tube. So those work really nice. And obviously there's some tuning that has to be done with the long tube headers. And I do a little bit of tuning, obviously with the 10-speed transmissions on these things. Lots of tuning you can do on those. With these type of bolt-ons, I don't have to do a ton. I raise the shift points up a little bit in some of the higher gears. The long tubes extend the power band out a little bit, so you can push the shift points, especially like 5, 6, 6, 7. You know, when you're going a little faster for some of those high speed runs down the track, down the straightaways, or down the drag strip if the car can go that fast at the drag strip a quarter mile. Just to get them out a little farther, so the shift recovery doesn't drop so far, especially on the 6-7 shift at 127, 128 miles an hour. It can kind of pull the motor down below 6,000 RPM. And I like to try to keep that at right about 6,000 RPM. So where we're at so far, these are the last 2 runs I did. 6 gear pulls. So I don't do 7th gear on lower power cars like this. 7th gear is the 1-to-1 in the 10-speed, but you end up doing a pull that's, man, it gets real long. You're talking 6, 7, 8 seconds of dyno pull. And if you search around the internet a little bit, you see what happens when you pull stuff too long on a dyno. It's really, especially on tires that maybe aren't rated for it. This has good tires on it, but I just don't like beating up on the equipment that much where the pulls are just dragging out in 7th gear. 7th gear will read higher. Probably on this car, you'd see another 15 at the wheels in 7th gear, but yeah, it's not worth beating up the equipment. All my tuning runs were done in 6th gear. And subsequently, then I can see my gains. You know, I think the first pull I did was like 420, and I can bring that up. That was the very first pull I did. Timing was a little lower, and air fuel I leaned out just a touch. These Coyotes like a little bit richer of a mixture for a normally aspirated setup. You try leaning them out, and they end up making less power, and they don't take as much timing. They're higher compression engines, and they're very efficient. Volumetric efficiency is really good, especially on these Gen 3 Coyotes. And higher volumetric efficiency ends up liking more fuel. And as you go in, and then as you go into boosted engines, they like even more fuel. So air fuel ratio kind of goes along with cylinder pressure. And more cylinder pressure, the more fuel you can put at, the more fuel the engine likes. So these engines, because they're very efficient, they like a little bit richer of a mixture. So so kind of found the sweet spot on the mixture. Obviously, you found the sweet spot on the timing. There really isn't much cam timing you do, even with long tube headers. You got to get into camshafts and stuff like that for adjusting cam timing. But you can see what I picked up so far. I wasn't able to do a baseline on this car. We were just so busy at the shop. I got a bunch of cars torn apart, waiting for parts, and I wanted to do baseline on it. But normally these cars make about, the 10 speeds usually make about 390 at the wheels, completely stock. So I'm happy with what I'm seeing here so far. And, the curve looks really good. And, yeah, so I want to do one more pull, kind of bring you guys along. We can look at the data log quick and yeah, I'm going to set the camera down. I'm going to shut the camera off for a sec. I'm going to get the fans all going. I'm going to get the car fired back up. It's been sitting for about 10, 15 minutes. So I'm going to get warmed back up, and I'll take you guys along inside the car for the final pull on this thing. All right, guys, we're all warmed up. Hopefully you can hear me okay. All warmed up. Car's rolling here. We're in 6th gear. So I'm going to bring this thing down, load the torque converter a little bit, get that to lock up. And then we're going to hit this. So it looks like we made a smidge less on that run. Maybe a few less. Let's take a look at the data log. You can kind of see what I'm doing real time here. So basically what I do a pull like that, I'll look at the graph. If there's a major change, obviously I'll get out and look at the graph, but I can just kind of glance at it. But there's the pull. So I'll always look at the data log. Data logging is by far the most powerful tool in any tuner's toolbox. You have to have your data logging set up properly, and if you don't have this set up, you're shooting in the dark. So you need to be able to read all these parameters, and most tuners will agree with me, you're making changes based on what you see on these data logs. Air fuel, timing, knock, you know, all that stuff. If you're boosted, boost. And on cars, you know, these VCT cars, I'm looking at all the different cam angles. I'm looking at the mapped points that Ford uses with the HDFX system. All sorts of stuff. Fuel pressure. All sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, looking good. Timings where I want it to be, upper 20s. Wisconsin here, we have mostly 91, unfortunately. So a lot of these things I tune with 91. These Gen 2 cars will take, you know, 30, 31. The Gen 3 cars on pump gas, upper 20s is all you're going to see. It's about all you're going to get out of them. The other thing I do with the 10-speed cars versus a stick shift car or a Gen 2 6R80 car is you just don't need to rev them super high, because the 10 speeds keep the rev range so close. So I did and you'll see in this video when we get it edited up, you'll see when I did the transmission tuning, and I'm going to save this log and as Dyno 2 here. I always save a couple logs. Sorry, I'm fumbling this around here. All right. And hopefully you guys are being patient with me here. You already saw what it made before, so. Anyway, I'll do some, obviously I'm not going to go take it out on the street and go 150 miles an hour in a customer car if I don't have to. So, and I can do trans tuning on the dyno. So you can see on the shift recoveries here, 7,200 dropping to 59, 77,000 dropping to 63. 7,300 dropping to 66. I mean, it's so close. It keeps the, you know, versus like a 6-speed or even an older 4-speed. You know, these things have really tight converters, and that's why these 10-speed cars are so fast, is because the way the transmission holds the RPM in such a tight window, and it holds it right around peak power. So this thing is peaking like at, you know, 68, 6,900 RPM. So coming over the top of that to 72, 73, and then recovering to 63, you know, low to mid 6s, it just holds it right at that peak power. So there's no need to rev the thing to 75, 7600, because it's just so tight. You know, you rev it too high, it's just going to drop back actually right at peak or even past peak power. So, and I'm rambling about that stuff, guys. So I'm going to go shut these fans off. We can take a look one more time at these dyno graphs. Looks like I dropped a little bit at the very top. But I'm not too worried about that. It's obviously, you can see it's very consistent. I'm gonna get rid of that. So I was a little lower. Maybe let the car cool off a little bit. The red run, the engine was warm. It was like almost 200 degrees. The blue run I just did, it was only about 185. A lot of these normally aspirated combinations, especially these 4-valve heads, they really like temperature. And I was kind of in a rush to get it on film, get you guys going here. And I'm kind of burning the midnight oil here at the shop, trying to get stuff done, like I said before. But yeah, no, that's looking really good. And that's obviously because you can see it's a slight loss across the whole range. It's probably just a temperature thing. Again, the 4-valve chambers like to be hot, vaporizes the fuel better. You get a more complete burn, especially on direct injected stuff like this, or where these are PI and DI. But yeah, you can see both curves overlay. So I'll go back to the other 434, and there's literally no tuning changes between these 3 runs. It's all the same exact tune. It's just temperature and variances in the dyno. So I'm super happy with this for what this car is, just a couple bolt-ons. That'll wrap this session up. And thanks for watching this channel, guys. And keep checking back on our social media for more videos. We got, like I said before in the last videos, we got all this stuff coming down the line. You can see I got GT500s torn apart. We got a Camaro coming down. We got another GT500 that's getting similar packages, and our 900 package. So check back on the channel for some tuning and dyno sessions with those cars. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys later.